BBC Radio 4. Now, the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 0015, the general synopsis at 1800. Low, northwest Malin, 1002, losing its identity, thundery showers. Good, becoming moderate showers, thunder later time. Thundery showers. Good, occasionally moderate. Showers, then occasionally rain, moderate. Later, showers, good, occasionally for a time. Later.
10 minutes and it will be like summer.
Otherwise fair.
Scotland. So at Neist Point in Skye, this wonderful view of the lighthouse looking out to sea. We're fighting with the weather today. 10 minutes ago we couldn't even see the lighthouse, it was covered in mist. The light is just cleared, but the wind has picked up now, so it's going to be a challenge. But today we're going to have a go at mixed media, so inks mixed with Unison pastels. Well, just get my inks amongst the wind. I've sketched out the scene very quickly and just poured out a selection of inks, purples and yellows and blues. The paper's already wet from the rain, and I'm just going to start by quickly laying down some cerulean blue to the sky and the sea. Just being really loose with the marks, being confident that I will be able to correct any drips or mistakes when I come to the pastel stage. So this is a really nice way of being expressive and loose. Piece of kitchen paper to just mop up, because of course the inks are very, very high key, which is one of their attractions, but also it can be a bit overpowering. So I'm using the rag also to paint the scene by dragging the inks over the paper. This is watercolour paper, Moulin du Roy, 300 grams, 140 pounds, so it doesn't need to be stretched. I'm just going to put down some red into this side of the hill, reddish pink. That's going to act as a complementary to the greens when I come to that, and also into the side of the rock where there's going to be nice dark purples. Using the same brush, nice big broad brush, some cadmium yellow. Just get some colour down. Again, being very broad with the mark making. We have some helpful rocks in the front to act as a nice piece of foreground. So I'm having to hang on to the easel. The wind is really trying to blow everything over. Makes for an exciting day out painting. Just knot that back again with the rag. And then we'll come in with some greens. And that's going to mix nicely with the cadmium yellow and the reds. Again, being really loose, sticking with this nice broad brush. As the weather closes in again. We really are having all the seasons in one day today. Typical Scotland. Going now for some deep purples for the darks. And that will act as a nice foil for the pastels when we get to that stage. So really this technique can be used with any form of wet media, mixing with the pastels. So often use watercolours or washy acrylic, works well, or liquid graphite. Just a wet media that's then mixed with dry. That's what gives a really nice tension between the two kinds of medium. It makes for a really lively, expressive painting. It's going to be tricky using pastels in this weather. We'll see if it clears up a little bit. This is great. Some darker blues. So I'm using a darker blue down here in the sea, just to get a little bit of impact. And the shadows are down there as well. And I'm also going to bring some of that dark blue, I think, mixed with some purple into the side of the mountain. It's the winning combination of wind and rain now. Don't you just love Scotland? Oh dear. We'll keep going for a few minutes longer. We might have to just pack up just for a few minutes, see if it passes over. Get rid of that blue here. So I'm just letting the drips happen. We've lost the scene actually, we're just about into mist again. But this is going to be a nice underpainting. I don't mind this, it's fine. Be good for the pastel. Get the rocks in. There's my rag. So I'm just going to dab this down a little bit, and then I think we'll take 5 for the weather to just calm down. You get really nice marks when you dab the rag. Gives an impression of the fissures in the rock. Can't even see it now. It's good to have a clean rag rather than one of these, but needs must. Oh, here we go. A nice clean one. Can't let go of the easel or it's going to fly 500 feet down into the sea. Right, so I think that's quite interesting. All set for the pastel stage. Oh my god. Stop there for a bit. So we were defeated somewhat by the weather at Neist Point. It was just too wet and windy to continue. I was happy to continue, but my filmmaker Tony was getting concerned about the very, very expensive equipment that he had being blown asunder and getting completely soaked by the driving rain. So we decided to complete the painting somewhere else, and we thought what better place to do that than in the headquarters of Unison Colour itself in Northumberland. And here we are. So we're in one of the rooms at Unison Colour where they're actually rolling out a set of blue colours. Hazel in the background there is working away, doing her thing with a wonderful set of blues. We will be using some of them in this painting. I'm going to be using this photograph that we took just before the weather closed in. It's not a great quality photograph, but I don't mind that. I don't want anything that's necessarily too clear. It forces me to interpret the scene and try to remember what it was about the scene at the time that attracted me to it. And really, what this scene is all about is lights against darks. This side of the land is very much in dark shadow. And of course, the sunshine was coming from the left to right, shining on top of the land here and the foreground where the rocks are. So that's going to be very much a feature of this painting, which is almost like something that the Impressionists would have done. It's covered in dirt and mud and rain and all sorts, which is just great. And it's definitely taking me straight back to Neist Point. So I'm going to start with just getting the drawing correct, because I was working so quickly with the weather that I ended up making this promontory just too high. It needs to come down somewhat, about halfway really. So with a light pastel, I'm just going to mark that out, just bring this down somewhat, and it's a shallower slope that we need, coming down something like that. So this is going to become Skye, and I can just come over this with the pastel, scumble over and just take it out, which is one of the joys of pastel. It's what we can do. We can correct drawings, errors, whatever it may be. And I need to be careful I do want to leave some of the underpainting here, because I think it's quite nice what happened with the acrylic, particularly with the water from the rain sort of running down. It's made some nice marks. But I also want to capture the essence of the light of the day. So there's going to be lots of yellows and pinks in this scene. I've got a light yellow here. I'm just going to mark that down over here. And we want to try and make something that's really quite atmospheric, because at that moment, it only lasted for about 2 minutes at the time, but it really was full of atmosphere. It was a wonderful, wonderful scene. The American photographers who were looking out over the point got very excited about it and couldn't believe it when it all disappeared within about 5 minutes. But there we go, that's Scotland and that's Skye for you. So just quickly scumbling the pastel. This is a light one, so it's almost white really. Top of the sky, and this is a bit of pink in this one, pinky grey, nice atmospheric pastel. Just getting the colour down, getting the essence of what it is that we're looking to try and achieve here. And bring that down into the water. And it's quite nice to just lightly scumble the pastel over this water and just leave the blue coming through. That gives a nice sense of light just catching the top of the sea. Really nice. and some pinky red almost, light pink. So I'm going to work quite quickly on this because I think this will benefit from almost a kind of impressionistic approach with sort of blocking in the pastels. So I'm not going to be looking for anything that's too detailed, or certainly don't want to overwork it. Come back up here. So yes, that drawing is better already. Just get the slope correct. There we are. And we'll get some darks in now on the side just to establish that. It's the contrast between the light and dark that's really going to make this a nice painting, give it lots of impact. So I want a nice hard edge here, while at the same time leaving some of the nice colour in the underpainting from the day. So again, I'm just going to drag this down gently, but making sure it's nice and dark at the edge where it's going to meet what I'm going to be looking to put some nice yellow greens into the landmass. And again, this dark, when it comes down here, is going to meet the whites of the rocks in the foreground, so it's going to work really, really nicely. It's just such good fun doing this in amongst all these pastels at Unison colours. Just wonderful. We did half an hour ago have the archetypal mug of tea round the big table with everybody that was working at Unison, something I've always wanted to do. I recommend it if you're in Northumberland, in the area. Give them a call, arrange it. They're always happy to see people visiting artists or just people that are interested in pastels. It's well worth a visit. So the eye will follow the direction of the pastel, I always say. So I'm doing nice vertical strokes here to give height to this landmass. Continuing this up towards the lighthouse. And the light is really nicely catching the top of the land in between the darks. So that's something that we'll definitely be making something of. This is dark 20 that I'm using. It's essentially a dark purple, a kind of indigo. Really my favourite kind of colour in the Unison range. All the darks are just got such intense pigment. It's really, really wonderful. So I'm really trying. I want to establish this this intense dark, but at the same time I'm just leaving elements of the colour from the underpainting coming through. And people often say, why even bother with the underpainting if you're putting so much pastel on top? Well, yes, that's true, but there are elements of the underpainting showing through, so it's you know, it's not all lost by any manner of means. But also, as I always say, the very act of making the underpainting with these very loose strokes with a nice big 2-inch brush just gives me that loose, expressive approach, which I can then carry forward into the pastel stage. That's the for me, that's the whole idea of doing the underpainting approach. These rocks in the foreground are going to be really, really helpful. take this dark down into the sea as well, but it becomes more of a dark blue. So we have that here, just at the bottom of the rocks. And we'll go over that again with a nice light blue. I think this is maybe one of the ones that Hazel's rolling at the moment in the background there. Which one are you doing at the moment, Hazel?
This is BV7.
BV7. So a blue violet, and yes, I am using a blue violet. I'm not sure if it's BV7, but it must be pretty close. Good. Now in the sky we need some purple as the clouds began to darken, a portent of the rain that was about to happen in a few minutes' time. So we'll get that in just to get a bit of atmosphere working. That's it. Here as well. Something a little bit darker even. Still using the pastels on their side to be nice and loose, and then we'll soften that down by coming back in to that pastel and over the top, so everything's sort of working together. And it gives that sense now of the wind pushing the clouds together and across the sky, and there's rain in the clouds as well. Again, if I do some of these vertical strokes, it gives a sense of impending rain, moisture, and we're getting some movement now in the sky just with these strokes. It's all about the mark making. Good, so we'll work a little bit now on the land, and again sort of maintaining this light against dark theme. Dragging it lightly again to show the underpainting underneath the nice colours that were created by the inks. So nice and impressionistic view. I tend to call things impressionistic when I'm just putting blocking colour in. Really, I suppose by impression I mean I'm working sort of loosely and expressively and quickly without being too detailed about things. It's one of the nice ways of working with pastel. Big broad strokes, mostly on their side. So amazing for working outside plein air, because you can work so quickly, so effectively. There's a helpful pathway on here that people sort of walk up the pathway and end up right on the top there. We did see some people doing that on the day. Not when the weather closed in. They would have been, I don't know, they'd been blown to Iceland, I suspect. I think that's nice. That helps to lead the eye through the painting, at least that, you know, that part of it. Let's establish the rock formations, particularly those that are against this nice dark of the rocks here, and they work their way into the foreground. So we want a nice hard edge here. And again, and it becomes actually almost red, the area of the rock that's in shadow. Quite interesting. But we'll also just add a bit of purple. Just try and establish a harder edge. Just really making the most of this light against dark. It really does give great impact. Again, using this as a dark 20. So not quite as dark as a dark 24, which is my favourite in the range of Unison pastels. It's really, really useful. So we better put in the lighthouse before I forget. So that's right on the edge here. So got this off-white. I think that works quite nicely actually. You don't see it unless you really sort of look for it. So you're looking at the scene as a whole, and then the eye gets used to the scene, comes round the promontory and finds the lighthouse there. I think that gives a really nice bit of interest to the painting. And in the rocks, there's also areas of light, kind of reflected light. So just very lightly to make something of that. The underpainting is definitely helping in that respect. A little bit of orange, just hints. I'm actually just going to look for that dark 24, my favourite pastel, because it's an intense dark. And I just want to really deepen the areas of darkness down at the bottom here of the rock and against these rocks in the foreground. And then we'll use that to introduce some froth in the water to work against this intense dark. And that will be us just about done, I suspect, on this one. It's working really nicely. So go back to our light one, or in fact my pastel just acquired from Unison, which is a really light blue. I think it's a grey actually, a light grey. Just going to use that to roll the pastel over that dark 24 area to create these nice little areas of water crashing against the rocks. So let's just stand back and have a look at that. So yeah, I think I like the movement in the sky with this feeling of impending rain. I like the light against the dark. That's working really well, and the rocks, maybe another couple of rocks in the foreground here. So we're about 5 minutes away from completing this one, I think. Let's get some more rocks in the foreground here, and get some dark against it to establish it. So we'll just stand back and have one last look at this, and I think that's worked out really nicely. So I'm going to call it a day on this one. I don't want to overwork it. It's very easy to do that. I think that captures the mood of the day, certainly the atmosphere of this, intense light moving across the sky just before the weather broke and it all went asunder. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.